Eagles are the better team. I can't say it any other way.
I don't really think everybody knows what they're about to witness.
I know talent when I see one. I should be an NFL scout.
Jonathan, I don't like that pick. I love that pick.
We have to talk about that Cowboys-Eagles game. It was the last game that we saw. It's currently Sunday, 8 p.m., just before the Sunday night game. So it is super fresh for everybody. And let me just go through it. So Cowboys 23, Eagles 28. Eagles squeak out the win. Emphasis on squeak. Squeaked by because, man,
yeah,
there was a lot of bone, a lot of meat left on that bone, I should say, for the Cowboys. I mean, they were in the red zone like 3 or 4 times, and they could not convert. It was Luke Schoonmaker was just a yard short on a touchdown. Dak Prescott steps out of bounds just a yard short of the 2-point conversion to get in the end zone. They what else happened? Freaking fumble by Swift on that last drive that could have been the turnover.
The Cowboys couldn't recover it.
I mean,
Parsons had it.
So
like both
many
teams,
chances.
This is what these rivalries do. Both teams make mistakes that it's a game of inches, you know? So it's like this rivalry, man, it's all there's so many little things that you could sum up in a couple sentences. That's just crazy. The almost blocked punt on the Eagles, you know, things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that I'll go through the stats and then I'll let Jonathan kind of say his piece. Yes. Dak played amazing today. 374 yards, 3 TDs. Hurts 207 with 2 touchdowns, and then CD was it 11 receptions for 191 yards. How many receptions did he have last week? 14?
Yeah, something like that.
So CD's just having a career season right now. Jonathan, let's just get it out. How do you feel? Raw reactions, fresh reactions right after the game ends. How are you feeling? Are you feeling a little optimistic because you left so much on the table? That game was winnable for the Cowboys.
Yeah, this game was definitely winnable for the Cowboys. Like you said, so much meat left on the bone right there. Okay, I can't wait to, fully enjoy and savor that meat bone the next time we play them.
Go back for seconds.
Go back for seconds. Yeah. Like you said, there was opportunities for us to score, and honestly, I thought the Eagles were gonna blow the Cowboys out. The way everybody was, pumping up the Eagles and all that. Yes, they have a good record, but a lot of their games have been close. Okay, they've been able to squeak it out, and that's good during the regular season. I'd rather them win like that during the regular season than during the playoffs where they get lucky, right? So throughout this game, you saw that the Cowboys matched perfectly with the Eagles. And honestly, the Cowboys, I think they look like the better team to me. The main reason, there were a lot of penalties from the Eagles, and it wasn't biased at all. Every single flag they called was well-deserved from the Eagles. And they missed a couple. The refs even felt bad for the Eagles sometimes. Remember that? It was in the face, like that face penalty. They picked up the flag and didn't.
It was a tap, and it looked like on the collar. Of all the ones to pick, I can't give you that one, I'm afraid.
Yeah, there's that one. This guy was holding Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons yelling at the ref. A lot of things like that they try to let slide. They were trying to
Cowboys
help
had
the
so
Eagles.
many penalties too. I've said this for years under McCarthy, that the Cowboys are not a very disciplined team with penalties, and they got penalized a ton all the way to the end.
Especially on that last drive where they got all the way up close because of the Eagles' penalties. And then what do they get? Like false start, and then they back them up again. It's like
anything Eagles are usually better.
That's explainable. At the end, that's explainable.
That's what the rivalry does.
No, at the end, that's explainable because you're trying to hurry up and rush and snap the ball. But the Eagles throughout the game looked sloppy. They played sloppy, and the coaching and all that. They could have honestly. The Eagles should have put this game away earlier. They weren't running the ball. They kept trying to throw the ball and complete passes. So this Eagles team is a bit overrated from what I saw today. The Cowboys.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Big time. I thought, again, the way they were pumping these guys up, I thought Jalen Hurts was gonna go off. I thought the defense was gonna, do good. Dak seemed relaxed. He seemed poised. Jake Ferguson. This was a coming out party for Jake Ferguson. I didn't know that tight end was that good. This boy can play. When I say he can play, he can always make himself open and be available to Dak. And he's another like reliable option besides CeeDee Lamb. And so it's great that he played well, but. Yeah, it seemed kind of too easy for the Cowboys to score on offense. Don't Eagles have all these top defensive stars, and they're holding.
But that's what happened. Like Hurts got hurt. Remember, he limped off the field.
Oh.
Goddard got hurt, so he was out of the game. Did you see Darius Slay get hurt and James Bradbury? At one point, they were both off the field.
So now we're gonna use excuses about people getting injured.
No, I'm just saying. You're like, what
reality,
happened to the
reality.
Eagles defense? I'm just trying to like tell you what happened. Didn't you see it?
Dude,
So
about
he came back home like a
95%.
hero.
About 95% of starters in the NFL today are banged up in some capacity. Everybody plays through it. So I don't want to hear excuses. Oh, Jalen Hurts was limping off. Oh, Saquon Barkley, he was pretty injured, but he came back and played okay against the Giants, or for the Giants today against the Raiders. And so you can't make excuses like that. If you come back in the game, you're saying you can play. You're saying there's no excuses, and that's what happened. And Bradbury, he tried to come back in. They probably should have tested him because he looked a little bit wobbly. But honestly, I'd rather the Eagles win like this early, because if we face them again, number 2, it's probably going to be a lot closer in terms of stakes. We're probably going to be head-to-head going for the NFC East division crown. But number 2, we could face each other in the playoffs very well. And I want to see them in the playoffs because I know we can beat them. We have the tools in us to beat them. And we'll clean all this up by the postseason in terms of making sure we're scoring in the red zone. Just silly things like that. The Eagles.
The biggest problem I see, though, is that you can't get a run game going. Pollard has had so many straight games of like not breaking off runs. And Dak did look poised, like you said. I mean, he pretty much easily did whatever he wanted, but Dak usually needs a little bit of help from his run game, and he's not getting it.
Well, he didn't. Yeah, he didn't need it today. Today he didn't need it. I mean, what they're doing is
but is that going to hold true the next time?
They think the offense runs through Pollard just like they thought the offense ran through Zeke. Okay, and
It
so,
did.
well, it did, but now I would say Dak has more weapons, right? We have Cooks. We have all these more reliable receivers that can catch.
That's the thing. Cooks only had one catch.
Yeah.
Well, what about? I'm talking about.
I was surprised they didn't
Jake
target
Ferguson.
Cooks more.
I'm talking about Jake
Ferguson's
Ferguson. CeeDee Lamb.
CeeDee Lamb looks to be like this game is against the Eagles, the rivalry. Yeah, but he past couple games, he's starting to look like the superstar of the Cowboys receiving core. Now, it's a trend. It's a hot hand, but he's kind of being that dependable guy for Dak that you envisioned he would have been, the way Gallup, the way Cooper, all these other guys have been, and he hadn't quite been there, but Dak balled out. I tell you, but I think John has a point. Without the run game, he statistically does not do as well. Pollard, they were talking about when he's the complimentary guy, like getting they were talking about him being the main guy, just the reps, wears down on you. So yeah. But I was looking at it. Interestingly enough, both the Eagles and the Cowboys both had 10 penalties. I think the Eagles had 15 more yards of penalties, 98 versus the Cowboys 83, but still like almost a whole football field of penalties on both sides.
And also you remember you're including that few at the end of the game where everybody's rushing and trying to smack the ball and all that. So that it was about the same. But still, throughout the game I can tell the Eagles look sloppy. They look sloppy not just in terms of penalties, but they look sloppy. They look sloppy in terms of strategic game planning on offense. Like, why would you try to throw the ball when you're trying to milk the
on
clock?
that third down? Yeah, they should have. That worked before, I think, in another game. But they should have chewed off more clock.
It's gonna come back to haunt them. They don't know strategy.
Well, yeah, you guys had the ball back, and with the 3 penalty, and it was 3 yards. So I was a little surprised. They went for the biscuit. They risked it for the biscuit with AJ Brown on that run. I think they've done that on third down in the fourth.
Yeah.
So, at least they ran it, because there was a couple, I think last game or 2 weeks ago, I don't know, where we were barely winning and they tried to pass like 3 times and just didn't take anything off the clock. At least they ran it twice. So
believe me, something's gonna come back and haunt the Eagles in terms of like towards the end of the game, whether it be a penalty or a fumble or something. Remember what happened in terms of the ball, like the fumble, right? The Cowboys could have got that and easily had more time. And so, guys, if somebody shows you who they are, believe them. The Eagles have showed us who they are. They're gonna fumble or make a mistake like this towards the end of the season. It's gonna cost the team. And believe me, I'm predicting it now. That's how football works. That's how team sports works. If somebody shows you who they are, they play bad, they drop a crucial
that's the
pass,
problem for the Cowboys.
They screw up in the end of the game, they're going to screw up. That's why I'm not a big fan of Josh Allen. He does it all the time, and he's going to do it again probably today.
I think the Eagles were uncharacteristically sloppy. Like we committed some blunders. There were some fourth quarter things.
Is it uncharacteristic this year, though? This season?
Were there any turnovers in the game? There were almost turnovers, so like that's different. That's an improvement.
Hurts didn't throw an interception finally.
Yeah,
that's good.
Those are the penalties and the almost fumbles and some of the play calling, like that third down. I mean, overall was mainly okay. The Eagles getting on the one hand they used the 4 linemen, which were really good. I think one of the best, maybe top 3 in the NFL of using 4 linemen to get pressure on the quarterback. And John, you said it. Dak was still able to get his way. Basically, he was balling out. But I think they were doing a pretty good job at using the 4 to still get some pressure and at minimum contain him, which towards the end, going to what Jonathan you were saying, is I think, if anything, is uncharacteristic of the Eagles, how sloppy we were. But then my heart was racing. It was close. These rivalries, it's a game of inches. The commentators were saying 1.5 yards of difference with the football, with Dak not converting the 2 and the Ferguson just being a couple inches short. Like that's the game, and the rivalries bring that out. But if anything, I think this was more characteristic of the Cowboys. Now, my heart was racing. The penalties, I was getting sick of them. It goes both ways, though, and what I'm saying is Cowboys, I've said this for a while, are characteristically not very disciplined. They get a lot of penalties every game. And then time management. There wasn't a sense of urgency. And I was like, the refs are rightfully, in some cases, calling stuff on the Eagles. We're blundering. It's whatever. We came out with the win. That's what matters. But in that moment, in the back of my mind, I was like, well, I think I know what I'm going to get. Dak's going to do well, but time management penalties are going to come back to bite him. I was texting some of my Philly friends. I was like, yeah, this is heartbreaking because they were at the 10. But then I was like, it goes both ways. The game's not over. So I was thinking we might get the ball back, or they're going to commit a penalty too. We saw the Eagles, I think Carter jumped. It's a tense moment, big rivalry. But then the Cowboys, false started. And that was more characteristic of what I've seen for years with the Cowboys offense, as well as the lack of urgency. Why not spike it on that? Just go, like the commentator was like,
they're trying to catch him off guard. They're trying to catch him off guard. That's kind of smart.
But like in a way, yeah, it would have. But then the pass wasn't really great. It was. I don't even think it was catchable. Do you
guys?
Yeah.
Do you guys think? Because I know it's not flashy or sexy to go for the field goal. But if they went for the field goal on both those 4th downs, they win the game. And
I did think about that. I was like,
the decision is always on the head coach, Mike McCarthy. It seems like he always makes the wrong decision. Now, I know that
that's a tough one.
Analytics and such say go for it. And after the fact. But, the Cowboys I don't even think they let up any points to the Eagles in the 4th quarter. Like they were handling them. Like
we could not get a first down in that.
I felt like kick your field goal. There's like 9 minutes left. You go back, you could stop them, and now a field goal wins it. And that's what they did. They got into field goal range, but now they're down a touchdown instead because they tried to go for it, and Schoonmaker was short. So I think some of those decisions are on McCarthy, and we always go back to Mike McCarthy if he's the right guy for the job. But in those situations when you're playing a good team and you're playing a division opponent, I take the field goal when there's so much time left.
Yeah, Jared,
I know.
I understand what you're saying, and I agree. Mike McCarthy, he's not probably the best coach we have. He's not the best coach in general. But let me just say, like, I think in those instances with the Eagles, with teams like the Eagles and the Chiefs, you got to play to win. Like, you can't try to take be conservative. You can't be conservative because if the Eagles had scored and we just made a field goal and the Eagles had scored the next drive, then we would have been probably out of the game.
But you guys were stopping them, is what I'm saying. You guys were handling them.
But there's no guarantee.
Quarter.
When I was watching, as an Eagles fan, when I was watching, that thought did cross my mind to go for the field goal because we weren't converting on those. We struggled to get first downs in the 4th quarter, but then on the other hand, I was like, it went to my mind of the penalties and the time management. I was like, in the moment, I was like, please kick the field goal because I think even if you get the ball back, time management is going to be a problem. Now, I agree with Jonathan. Fundamentally, that's what me as the fan was kind of baiting in my head. Like I was baiting them, like, please go for the field goal. But when you're playing against a good team, you got to be bold, and like John says, you play to win. So I think I can't fault McCarthy for not going for it. I would say I fault more with just like what's going on in the 4th quarter. I just flash back to when they ran out of time in the playoff game or whatever it was. Like this has been characteristic of the Cowboys. Like what's going on with the sense of urgency when you're trailing in the 4th? And like their history of not doing well on the road, coming from behind. What's going on with the mentality there?
That last drive where Carter jumps off sides, they get the 5-10 yard penalty, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And then they're like on the 15, Cowboys, and no timeouts. And that play where they get the false start, it was a design quarterback run. And Dak was going to get blown up in his grill, and it was probably going to waste 10 seconds. And it's like, who's calling that play? If that played out, we'd be talking about that play as being the stupidest play, managed, and it goes back to the time management, Caleb. For some reason, they just don't have any. Oh, the Bengals game just kicked off.
Yeah,
and they have no sense of like urgency. It's like they think they have like 5 timeouts and they have all the time in the world. It's
like
frustrating.
They were able to use the timeouts well to like get themselves in a position, and the penalties did favor them. But then it's just like you could hear the commentators saying like, "Why aren't they rushing to the line? What's up with this?" Like the sense of urgency is what it is.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
at this point, I don't know, because it's been a couple of years. I mean, right? Even with Kellen Moore now with the different coach, like, is this culturally what's going on? Are they not used to? They brought up the stat where they're used to either being blown out or blowing out opponents, and maybe it's just those close games. You need more of them. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm not going to give advice to the Cowboys.
Yeah, I
but
think the story of the game was how bad like the Eagles, are in general. I think that's the story of the game. Yes, they were able to squeak this out, but it's concerning. I'm really concerned
if the
because
Eagles
all these
didn't
games
blunder,
have been close. They didn't they look sloppy to me. They didn't like
blunders are out of
efficient
character
team.
mistakes. I think we had a lot of out of character mistakes. I think the Eagles fundamentally are a great team.
They've had a lot of out of character mistakes all the season. So like that's who they are. This season, that's who the Eagles are.
This season,
and it's gonna hurt them. Believe me, it's gonna hurt them towards the end of the season, whether it be when trying to win the NFC East crown or in the playoffs, maybe the first, second round. They may lose because of a stupid thing that they've done.
I think it's just adversity. Because I mean, as much as we want to qualm about Hurts not he's thrown some dimes, but then some of even the interceptions and stuff, his stats when winning, coming from behind against teams with winning ratios is phenomenal. So it's like, even with all the mistakes, we're coming up clutch and winning the games. That's the most important stat.
Just like the Vikings were.
Well, like I think to the Chiefs, how many close games they had last season, and how many, not that Mahomes throws a lot of picks, but we don't fault Mahomes for like the almost picks. How many almost picks he had? And part of that's just when you're that good of a player, you can slough them in sometimes.
Well, yep. I know we're talking about Eagles and stuff, but like this is gonna be a long game for the Bills. Just FYI. But
for that. Oh, okay. I thought you were
we'll wrap these next segments up.
No, yeah. Well, we'll see. Well, there's another game to happen. I think it was I think the Cowboys probably needed it more though. Like the Eagles definitely, we wanted this for sure. Every rivalry, but you're starting to see the division implications.
Just want to let you know, Caleb, that you have a bye next week, and then you go into a gauntlet where you have to play the Chiefs, Bills, 49ers, and at Cowboys. So I'm just preparing you that you may not fare so lucky against the Chiefs in Kansas City or against 49ers. It's going to be a rough road, you can't.
No, those are great teams, great opponents, but I mean, I said this a few weeks ago. I'm not to be haughty, but like if we had an easier schedule and still made it as far as we did, we've had a harder schedule and faced tougher opponents, and we're still doing pretty well. So I think it's just that adversity. I think that's just the level that we got to play at, and they're great opponents. So